Okay, let's talk about something probably familiar. That burst of excitement when you decide to learn a language, maybe English. You get the app, you do a lesson or two, maybe post about it,
Seen that happen.
and then nothing. It just sort of fades. The sources we looked at, they mention this statistic, quite stark actually. 80% of English learners give up.
80%.
They already in the first 3 months. Apparently, it's because people treat it like a New Year's resolution. All in on day one, totally gone by day 30.
Yeah, that rings true. The classic resolution flame out.
So if you've tried, maybe bought those apps, and you're wondering why it keeps fizzling out, and more importantly, how to make it stick this time. Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Exactly.
Our mission here is to find some simple, really actionable daily routines. Things that make learning English just a normal part of your life, not some chore you avoid.
Something seamless.
Right. And it's not just about getting better at English, is it? It's maybe about getting better at sticking to things generally, building consistency.
That's a really good point. And a key thing that jumped out from the sources is it's usually not about motivation. That's what people think is the problem.
Oh, interesting. So what is it then?
It's a lack of good habits, effective habits. There's this great line. Your habits are stronger than your goals. Fix the habits first.
Habits stronger than goals. That really flips the usual advice, doesn't it?
Totally. So we're not trying to find more willpower. We're looking at how to kind of sneak English into your everyday life.
Sneak it in.
I like that. Yeah, basically by changing the content of what you're already doing. You don't necessarily need more time.
Okay, that's crucial. Not forcing new time, but using the time you already have, that feels achievable.
It is. And the way we'll explore this, based on the sources, is looking at 3 parts of the day: morning, afternoon, evening.
Right.
Using something called habit stacking. Basically linking English practice to things you already do automatically.
Habit stacking. Got it. Sounds clever. Let's break it down. Where do we start? Morning.
Yep, the morning. The sources call it the golden hour. Yeah. Your brain's fresh, right? Not cluttered with emails or, the day's stress yet.
Makes sense. Before the chaos hits.
Exactly. But what do most people do? Grab the phone, scroll, hit snooze.
Guilty?
We all are sometimes. The sources actually mention the prefrontal cortex. The bit for focus and learning is really active then, so it's prime time for building a new habit.
So seize that golden hour. What do the sources suggest, practically? Something about keeping the phone away.
Yeah, that's a big one. Phone-free first 30 minutes, if you can manage it. And they offer this morning English trio.
Okay, trio.
Yeah.
What's involved?
It's pretty simple. While you make coffee, play a quick, 5-minute TED Talk in English.
Okay, doable.
Then brushing your teeth, pop on an English podcast for those 2 minutes.
All right. Making use of micro moments.
Exactly. And the third part, before you really start your day, just jot down 2 or 3 goals for the day in English.
Wow. Okay. That feels very manageable. It's not asking for an hour of study.
Not at all. It perfectly shows that habit stacking idea.
Yeah.
You're doing what you'd normally do, making coffee, brushing teeth, but just weaving English into it.
You're not adding a new task, just changing the flavor of the existing one.
Precisely. Like the example they give. Instead of random cat videos on TikTok, maybe find a video of a, cat speaking English.
Okay, maybe not literally cats speaking English, but I get the idea. Purposeful entertainment.
Right. It uses enjoyment, makes it feel less like study, more like fun, which helps you actually stick with it.
That makes sense. Okay, so morning is covered. What about later in the day, that infamous afternoon slump, when all you want is a nap or, endless scrolling?
Ah, yes, the post-lunch brain fog. The sources suggest fighting that not with caffeine necessarily, but with mini English breaks.
Mini breaks, like the Pomodoro technique.
Exactly like that. Work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break, but make that break an English break.
What do you do in those 5 minutes?
Read something short in English, a quick news article, some fun facts, maybe a blog post, just something to keep the language active in your brain.
So the key is, while your colleagues are scrolling social media.
You're scrolling English. It's a simple switch.
I like that framing. Scroll English. And then there was another afternoon idea, wasn't there? Something about voice practice. Around 3 or 4 p.m.
Yes. This one's quite cool. Record yourself just on your phone, talking for a minute or two about your day, how you're feeling, what happened. In English, obviously.
Like a spoken diary entry.
Kind of, yeah. Dear diary, but out loud. And the key is no pressure about grammar. Just speak. Let it flow. The sources say this kind of free practice is really important for fluency.
But what if you feel Awkward. People hearing you talking to yourself.
Totally valid concern. The simple fix. Pop in your phones. Looks like you're on a call. No one needs to know you're just chatting to yourself in English.
Sneaky. I like it. Any other afternoon tips?
One really simple one. Going for a walk. Put on an English podcast. Turns a simple walk into listening practice. Beats just, traffic noise.
Makes the walk feel doubly productive.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that gets us through the afternoon. What about the evening when you just want to relax?
Well, right, the chill mode part of the day.
Yeah.
And the sources are clear. This isn't about banning Netflix.
Okay.
It's about switching to English Netflix or whatever streaming service you use.
Yeah.
Replace the shows you watch in your native language with English ones. Maybe start with just 30 minutes of a fun series. Put on English subtitles if you need them.
Or rewatch something you love.
Even better. Rewatching something familiar in English is great. Your brain already knows the plot, so it can focus more on the language. The sources mention this actually leverages existing enjoyment pathways, makes learning feel less like effort.
Using familiarity to your advantage. Clever.
And another really neat idea for the evening. Weave English into your hobbies.
How so?
Well, say you enjoy cooking. Find a recipe online in English. Follow the instructions in English.
So you get listening or reading practice and dinner.
Exactly. 2 birds, 1 stone. Find ways to do what you love, but do it in English.
That's brilliant. Very practical. What about winding down with family?
There's a lovely suggestion for that. End the day together, maybe around the dinner table or before bed, and everyone shares just one thing they're grateful for in English.
Simple, positive, and a little bit of practice. I like that.
Connects language practice with positive emotion.
Okay. And then for the very end of the day, the real wind down.
2 main things suggested. First, a bit of English journaling, but super low pressure, like 5 short sentences.
Sentences. That's it.
Yep. What you did, how you felt, maybe 1 small win from the day, just 5 sentences. Helps your brain sort of summarize the day using English. Really helps consolidate things.
Doesn't sound overwhelming at all. What's the second thing?
Reading. Just 10 minutes. A book, a comic. Something calm, definitely not more scrolling.
Right. Calm words. Why reading specifically?
The idea is your brain is winding down, resting, but it can still absorb language passively through reading calm material. Less pressure than active study.
Okay. And wasn't there one final, slightly unusual tip?
Yes. For falling asleep, try using an English meditation app.
Meditation. In English. While falling asleep.
Yeah, you get the relaxation benefit, plus your ears are getting trained to English sounds even as you drift off. The source is literally called Sleep plus English, the best combo. Passive learning at its peak.
Wow, okay. That's a full day packed with, well, sneaky English.
Pretty much. Woven in, not forced in.
So let's pull back a bit. We've got these routines for morning, afternoon, evening. What are the big underlying principles that make this work? You mentioned consistency.
Absolutely key. That's probably the biggest one. Consistency beats intensity. Every single time. Doing 15 minutes every day is so much better than trying to cram for 2 hours once a week on a Sunday.
I've definitely fallen into that trap before, planning a huge study session that just never quite happens or feels overwhelming.
Exactly. That inconsistency is killer. So the question for you listening is, are you aiming for massive, infrequent bursts or small, steady steps? The small steps win.
Small steps win.
Got it.
And the other big mindset shift you mentioned earlier was about mistakes.
Right. Stop seeing them as failures. The sources say mistakes are just data.
Data. How so?
Every time you make a mistake, like maybe saying I late instead of I am late, it's not failure. It's information. It tells you what you need to work on. You're basically a researcher in your own language experiment.
A walking English experiment.
Yeah.
I like that reframing. It takes the fear out of it.
It really does. But, for someone who's always been scared of making mistakes, the first step is just allowing yourself to play with the language. Know that imperfect attempts are actually useful feedback.
Play with it. Get data. Okay. And link that to starting small.
Yes. Don't try to implement all these routines at once. Pick one small thing, maybe just 5 minutes of English reading when you open your emails, or 5 minutes of listening before a meeting you're nervous about.
Lower the barrier so much it feels easy to start.
Exactly. What's one tiny, almost trivial 5-minute slot you could claim for English today?
Good question to ask yourself. And what about sticking with it? Even small habits can fade.
Accountability. Crucial piece. The sources really stress finding an accountability partner.
Someone to check in with.
Yeah, someone who knows your goal. They can just check in, remind you, maybe even give you a friendly nudge if you miss a day. That little bit of external pressure or support makes a huge difference.
It does. It's harder to skip when you know someone might ask you about it.
Definitely.
So, consistency, viewing mistakes as data, starting small, staying accountable. These are powerful principles. But then there's the final, maybe toughest point.
Ah, yes. The knowing isn't doing part.
Right. We've heard ideas like these before, maybe read similar articles, but listening to this, knowing it, that's not the same as actually doing it.
That's the core challenge, isn't it? To stop waiting for the perfect time or for motivation to strike or for when you're in the mood.
Just start.
Just start. Even tiny. Start now.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. This whole deep dive, it shows how the smart habit stacks can basically turn your normal life into an English learning environment, but in a relaxed way.
English everywhere but in chill mode, as one source put it. It's not like being in a classroom. It's about making your existing routines work for your English goals.
Effortless learning, almost. Okay, so to help people actually do this, not just know it, there's a challenge, right?
Yep, a week one challenge straight from the source material. Ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay. First, pick just one of those morning English activities we talked about, just one to start.
Okay.
Second, for the next 7 days, just track how much English you're exposed to each day. It doesn't have to be complicated, just a quick note.
Got it. One morning habit, track exposure for a week.
And third, maybe think about sharing how it went. Could be online, maybe use a hashtag like hashtag daily English habits, or honestly, just write it down for yourself. Reflecting helps solidify it.
Nice, concrete challenge. One habit, track it, reflect.
Yes.
All right. And as we finish, we always like to leave people with a final thought, something to chew on.
Okay, here's one building on everything we've discussed. If we accept that fluency comes from daily habits, these small, consistent actions, and if we accept that mistakes are just data for our own personal research, then what existing daily routine, something you do every single day without fail, no matter how small or boring it seems, what routine are you still overlooking? What could be your next tiny English laboratory?